If someone in your life doesn't respect you, there are exactly 5 things that change that none of them involve confronting them. By the end of this video, you'll know precisely what to do the next time someone talks over you, dismisses you, or treats your time like it's free. Picture this. You're in a meeting, you make a point, nobody responds. 30 seconds later, a coworker says the same thing, gets nuts all around. That happened because of something you're doing, not something wrong with you. Later in this video, I'm going to show you why the obvious fix, sting up for yourself louder, actually makes disrespect worse for most people who try it. Stick around for that. If you've ever felt invisible in a room you used to come, drop the word "seen" in the comments right now before we even start, so I know you're one of the people this video is actually for. You already know the feeling. It's 7 AM, your phone buzzes with a text from your sister asking you to cover something. Again, no please, no acknowledgement that you did the same thing last week. You say yes. You always say yes. At work, you send a detailed proposal. In the meeting, your manager repeats your idea back to the room as if he thought of it in the shower that morning. Nobody corrects him. You don't correct him. At dinner, your partner checks their phone while you're mid-sentence. You just stop talking. Mid-thought, finish your food instead. None of these moments are dramatic. That's what makes them dangerous. They are small enough that you can't justify getting upset, but frequent enough that they're quietly draining something in you, your energy first, then your self-respect, then eventually your sense of who you even are in a room. You start rehearsing conversations in the shower that you'll never have. You start over-explaining simple decisions to people who never ask for an explanation. You start apologizing for taking up space. This is the cost, it's not abstract. It's hours of your week spent managing other people's comfort at the expense of your own dignity. Marcus Aurelius, a Roman emperor who spent his private journal wrestling with exactly this kind of pain, kept returning to one idea. Other people's opinions of you are not yours to control. Trying to control them is a war you cannot win, only lose slower or faster. He wasn't saying stop caring about people. He was saying, stop outsourcing your sense of self-worth to people who haven't earned the right to assign it. That single shift from how do I make them respect me to how do I stop needing them to is the entire spine of what we are about to build, 5 layers deep, each one sharper than the last. Here is the core idea, stated plainly. Respect is not something you defend or negotiate for. It is something you stop leaking. That's the whole law. Most people think earning respect means becoming louder, more impressive, more confrontational, bigger. It doesn't. It means you stop hanging out excess, energy, explanation to people who haven't shown they deserve it. You do it so calmly that nobody can even accuse you of doing anything at all. Let's be clear about what this does not mean. It does not mean becoming cold, cutting people off dramatically, or turning into someone who doesn't care about anything. That's not strength, that's just a different flavor of performance. Performing indifference is exhausting in its own way. It also doesn't mean you stop being kind. Kindness, self-respect aren't opposites. What we're removing isn't warmth, it's the automatic unearned access you've been granting people simply because saying no felt uncomfortable. Here's what it opposes directly. The modern, socially rewarded instinct to explain yourself into being understood. We live in a culture that worships communication, talk it out, over-explain, send a paragraph text message justifying why you're upset, host a 2-hour conversation about your feelings with someone who was never going to listen anyway. Sometimes that's valuable, but when it's aimed at someone who has already shown you through repeated action that they don't respect your time or your boundaries, all that explaining does is confirm to them that your boundaries are negotiable if they just wait you out. Respect isn't won in conversation. It's won in the pattern of what you tolerate. So let's build this one layer at a time. The first way is the most accessible. It starts absurdly small. Stop explaining decisions nobody asked you to justify. Picture this: a friend invites you to something on a Thursday night. You say, I can't make it. Instead of leaving it there, you hear yourself adding, I've just had such a long week. I have an early morning. I promise I'll make the next one. You just built a legal case for a decision that required zero justification. Epictetus, a former slave who became one of the sharpest minds in Stoic thought, taught that some things are within your control, your judgments, your responses, your choices. Some things are not. Confusing the two is the root of almost all unnecessary suffering. Your decision to skip Thursday night is entirely within your control. You don't owe a trial for it. Psychologically, what's happening here has a name: the spotlight effect, the well-documented tendency to wildly overestimate how much other people are scrutinizing you. You think your no needs armor. It doesn't. Nobody is building a case against you in their head the way you're building one in yours. Here's the reframe. Over-explaining isn't politeness. It's a subtle form of asking permission. People who don't respect you can smell permission seeking from across a room. The action for today is simple. The next time you decline something, decline it in one sentence. Then stop talking. Let the silence sit there. It will feel unbearable the first few times. Do it anyway. Now, before we go further, quick question for you. Have you ever noticed that the people who over-explain the least are usually the ones everyone assumes are the busiest, most important people in the room? That's not a coincidence. That's the next layer starting to show itself. The second way is where it gets slightly more uncomfortable, because it's not about words anymore, it's about attention. Stop giving your full emotional presence to people who treat it as background noise. Think about the last group chat where you sent a long, thoughtful message, got a single thumbs up reaction in return. Or the relative who calls you only when they need something, somehow you're always fully present for that call, dropping what you're doing, while they're distracted the entire time. Seneca wrote to his friend Lucilius about guarding time the way a miser guards money, because time is the one thing you can spend but never get back. Yet most people protect their wallet more fiercely than they protect their attention. Here's the psychological piece. This pattern often traces back to something called the mere exposure effect, combined with basic conditioning. You've simply trained yourself through repetition that being available is how you stay relevant to people, so you keep supplying full presence even when it isn't reciprocated, because the alternative feels like risking the relationship altogether. The reframe is this: withdrawing your full attention from someone who doesn't reciprocate it is not punishment, it's accuracy. You are simply matching the level of presence they've already shown you. The action today is small but sharp. The next time that person calls or texts, respond with the same level of energy they've been giving you. Not colder, just accurate. The third way moves from the emotional register into something more structural. This is where most people flinch. Stop rescuing people from the consequences of disrespecting you. Here's a scenario. Your coworker consistently misses deadlines that then L on your desk at the last minute. Every single time. You stay late, quietly fix it so the project doesn't fall apart. Nobody above you even knows there's a problem because you keep absorbing it. Marcus Aurelius again, this time on a harder edge, he wrote that we suffer more in imagination than in reality. That includes the imagined disaster of what happens if you simply let something break instead of catching it. There's a real psychological cost to what you're doing here. It has a name too. It's called the rescuer role within what therapists sometimes describe, using the drama triangle where you unconsciously position yourself as the fixer, which feels noble in the moment but actually removes any incentive for the other person to change because you keep absorbing their consequences for them. The reframe: letting something fail that was never yours to carry isn't cruelty. It's the only way the other person ever learns the true cost of their own behavior. The action for today: identify one thing you've been quietly rescuing someone from. This week, let it L where it was always supposed to L. Don't announce it. Don't sabotage it. Just stop catching it. If you've made it this far, you already think differently than most people watching this video, because most people click away the moment a video asks them to actually change a behavior instead of just feel validated. So here's what I'll ask. If this is link for you, hit like right now. It genuinely helps this reach the next person who needs to hear it. It costs you nothing. Remember that thing I said at the very start about the obvious fix backfiring? We're about to get to exactly why sticking up for yourself louder often makes disrespect worse. That's coming in the next section, so stay with me. The fourth way is where the paradox starts to bite, because it directly contradicts what almost every piece of advice online tells you to do. Stop confronting disrespect head-on. Instead, remove access. Here's the scene. A friend makes a cutting joke at your expense in front of a group, the kind that's technically a joke but clearly isn't. The instinct, the one every self-help thread on the internet will tell you to follow, is to call it out immediately, in the moment, in front of everyone, to stand your ground. Watch what actually happens when you do that. You've now given them a live audience and emotional reaction, which is precisely the currency people who disrespect others are fundamentally seeking: whether they'd admit it or not. You've made yourself the story. Epictetus would tell you that reacting visibly to an insult, the insulter power over your emotional state that they otherwise wouldn't have had the loss of composure, is the actual loss, more than the insult itself ever was. This connects to something psychologists call the extinction burst, a pattern originally observed in behavioral conditioning. When you stop reinforcing a behavior, it often spikes dramatically before it dies out completely, because the person is testing whether the old reaction is still available. A confrontation in the moment is reinforcement. It tells them the button still works. Removing access, quietly seeing them less, sharing less, laughing less, extending fewer invitations, all without a single dramatic scene, starves the behavior of its reward without ever giving them the performance they were fishing for. Here's the reframe. Silence in the moment isn't weakness, it isn't cowardice either. It's simply refusing to pay the price of admission they were counting on. The action for today: think of the last person who disrespected you, got a visible reaction out of you. This week, interact with them exactly as normal, but reduce one specific thing. You give them a text back, an invite, a piece of information about your life, say nothing about why. Now here's the turn, the part that ties everything together, answers that open loop from the very beginning of this video. The reason the obvious fix, confronting people, dimming respect loudly, sting your ground in the moment, backfires for most people, isn't that confrontation is inherently wrong. It's that confrontation is still a form of asking. When you dim respect from someone, you are, underneath the dim, still positioning them as the authority who gets to grant it or withhold it. You are still playing their game, just louder. The paradox is this: the moment you stop trying to make someone respect you, instead simply stop requiring their respect to function, the moment you're calm, your decisions, your energy, your time no longer depend on their approval, respect tends to arrive on its own, almost as a side effect, because people are drawn to whoever seems least destabilized by their opinion. This is the fifth final way, it's the sharpest one: stop needing their respect at all. Not performing indifference, actually building a version of yourself whose stability doesn't run through other people's reactions. This is the exact idea Marcus Aurelius kept circling in his private journal, written for no audience but himself, that the goal isn't to control what others think of you, it's to become the kind of person for whom that question quietly stops mattering. Psychologically, this is what's known in attachment theory as earned security, the capacity to regulate your own sense of worth internally rather than through constant external validation. A capacity that isn't fixed at birth, it's built slowly through exactly the kind of small repeated choices we've walked through today. The reframe, needing someone's respect, deserving it, are two completely different things. Confusing them is what's been keeping you stuck. You do not need it. You simply are it. Picture your Thursday morning 6 months from now. Your phone buzzes with the same kind of request your sister used to make, except now you read it, decide in 2 seconds whether it fits your day, answer honestly without the paragraph of justification trailing behind it. You walk into the same kind of meeting, someone repeats your idea, instead of your stomach dropping, you simply say calmly, "Yes, that's what I said a minute ago." Not as a jab, just as a fact. You move on before the sentence even finishes ling. You're at the same kind of dinner, your partner glances at their phone, instead of shrinking your sentence down to nothing, you finish your thought at your normal pace because their attention was never actually the thing giving your words their value. The chaos hasn't disappeared. People still interrupt. People still test boundaries. People still occasionally try the old joke at your expense to see if the button still works. But you're not the same person catching it anymore. You're not performing calm, you simply are calm because your sense of self stopped being rented out to whoever happened to be in the room. That's the actual transformation. Not that the world got easier, that you stopped needing it to. Here's your challenge, starting today, for the next 7 days. Every single time you feel the urge to over-explain, over-give, over-rescue, or overreact to someone who hasn't earned that from you, pause for 3 seconds before you respond. Choose the smaller, quieter version of your reaction instead. Just 7 days. Track how many times the urge shows up, you'll be surprised. If you take one line away from this video, let it be this: respect isn't something you dem from people, it's something you stop leaking to them. Tell me in the comments the word leak if you're starting this today. I read every one. It helps me know exactly what to make next. If this actually shifted something for you, subscribe because there's a lot more of this coming. Thanks for watching. Stay grounded.